Arkham Asylum is full of deranged characters, from some of the baddest villains DC Comics has to offer to quirky yet deadly criminals who manage to surprise us in the panels. There's a lot of horrors and terrors in the form of antagonists kicking around that place, and we bet you'd not want to get stuck sharing a prison cell with any of them. So today we are playing the hypothetical game and counting down the top 10 Arkham Asylum inmates you wouldn't want to room with. For the sake of this list, we are going to keep this strictly DC, and within the realm of characters who have actually spent some time in Arkham Asylum. So with that in mind, let's get to it. In at number 10, the Riddler. If you shared a cell with Edward Nygma the Riddler, you'd likely have a major headache by the end of your stay at Arkham. Or you'd be driven mad. Either or, really. The Riddler first appeared in Detective Comics issue 140 in 1948 and has been a mainstay in Batman's rogue gallery for years. He's a criminal mastermind who is rarely outsmarted by anyone but the world's greatest detective himself, hence why he has respect for Batman, although he'll continuously try to throw him off with a well thought out riddle linked to his crimes. So what would that mean for you if you ended up in Arkham and found yourself having to share a cell with this fellow? Well, he would mind with you so bad, hide all of your possessions, and make you solve riddles in order to get them back. Or he'd make you solve puzzles in order to have access to your shared toilet in your cell. The possibilities are endless really, but they'd all involve riddles and puzzles and schemes that would make your brain hurt. And nobody likes a smart roommate. Now imagine being passive aggressive with you. He would just give you really complicated riddles as like an answer to any question you asked. It would drive you insane. And at number 9, Mr. Freeze. While Victor Fries is one of the more empathetic and pragmatic villains on this list, the reason Mr. Freeze finds himself here isn't because of his personality or his criminal MO. It's because it would really suck if you had to share a cell with him, because it would be really cold. And that's unpleasant. Because of the laboratory mishap this cryogenic expert endured while trying to develop a cure for his terminally ill wife Nora, his body temperature sits at sub-zero levels, requiring him to wear a special suit in order to stay alive. Thing is, that suit is also equipped with a whole lot of weapons and tech that would be dangerous to have on Victor while he's imprisoned in Arkham. So his cell in Arkham has typically been depicted as a freezer room of sorts, or a specially made room that allows for the temperature that he requires to survive. Now imagine having to share that cell with him. For starters, it probably wouldn't be allowed because you would freeze to death, but even if you did get stuck in there temporarily with Victor, you'd have to wear a snowsuit so thick that you'd avoid going to the washroom just because of how difficult the process of taking off your pants would be. And if you can't poop, how's that living? And at number 8, the Mortician. Unlike our previous number, the Mortician makes this list because he's utterly terrifying. Porter Vito was a funerary agent who ran a funeral home. Imagine he was just a funerary agent who ran a beach resort? That'd be weird. His everyday involved him being well acquainted with corpses. So what did this fellow do? He came up with several different experiments and techniques to try to resuscitate his dead parents. Yikes. Then he started doing it to other dead people. Fun. Overall, he's a much smaller time Gotham villain who primarily uses zombie swarms in combat, and is therefore creepy as hell. I don't know about you guys, but I would rather avoid the Mortician altogether. What would you even talk about? Would he try to kill you and then resurrect you? And that would make the conversation even more strained. No thanks. In at number 7, CLAYFACE. CLAYFACE, aka Basil Karlo, has a very interesting skill set. He can change his clay body into anything or anyone. Now, imagine if you had to share a cell with him. And imagine if he didn't like you. That could be pure psychological torture if he was really able to get under your skin. But fear not, these days for the most part in DC Rebirth the character has turned a new leaf, or rather new clump of clay? He's trying out being a hero, having grown tired of the criminal lifestyle and taking Batman up on an offer to change his life. But after the fall of the Batman story arc, he was infected with the Monster Men serum, transforming him into a monster full of rage that then went on a rampage and destroyed part of Gotham. He would be presumed dead, but was revealed to have survived and had gone into hiding. Now powerless though. Needless to say, I don't think he'll be kicking around Arkham anytime in the recent future. In at number 6, Victor ZSASZ. Victor ZSASZ is one of Gotham's most notable serial killers. Every time Victor kills, he adds another tally with a knife onto his skin. And take a look at him, he's got a whole lot of tallies. He claims his mind is its most clearest when he kills and when he is counting his kills. He wears those tallies on his flesh like badges of honor. Victor won't really see you as human, but rather an opportunity to add yet another tally onto his scarred flesh. He won't hesitate to kill you unless you can prove your worth, meaning unless you're like a kingpin of some sort or have a reputation, you're likely as good as dead if you get stuck in a cell with this lunatic. Moving on to number 5, Death Rattle. Death Rattle may be a much more small-time villain compared to others on our list, but he is arguably one of the most terrifying by far. Aerosmith's Death Rattle reign first appeared in Arkham Asylum Living Hell issue 1. He is a cult leader and a ruthless serial killer, a self-proclaimed psychic, and a founder of his very own religion, which was deemed wildly unpredictable and very amoral. He believed that he could communicate with the dead, and voices in his head told him to kill 56 members of his own ministry. So that's how he ended up in Arkham. And while there, he murdered a bunch of different kinds of Arkham inmates unexpectedly, all while claiming the asylum's ghosts were communicating with him. Now, consider this. Those ghosts who spoke to him, they would tell him later on in Arkham Asylum Living Hell issue 6 to throw himself into fire and sacrifice himself, which he would do willingly. The ghost's true motives? They just wanted him to kill himself and rot in hell for what he had done to his victims. Aw, ghosts. So even though he is dead, hypothetically speaking, being his roommate would be all sorts of creepy. You'd have to worry about being recruited to a cult, witnessing murder all the time, maybe even getting offed yourself in the name of Death Rattle's religion. Doesn't sound overly pleasant now, does it? Moving on to number 4, the Dollmaker. The Dollmaker is one messed up dude. While we haven't seen him in Arkham before, we'd imagine he would certainly end up there. First introduced in the New 52 and Detective Comics issue 1 of 2011, Dollmaker, aka Barton Mathis, was forced to go on hunting trips with his father when he was a child. Except they were hunting a very, very illegal kind of game. Human beings. He witnessed his father killing people and then cannibalizing them, and in addition to that, he witnessed his father being fatally shot by a young James Gordon. After spending a year in foster care, he would reemerge as the Dollmaker wearing a mask made out of his own father's skin. He's also the fellow who cut off Joker's face and then reattached it, because clearly he's an expert. So all in all, if you'd prefer to not have your skin cut off and then reattached to your body in a different spot, or worse, being roommates with the Dollmaker definitely wouldn't be up your alley. Imagine you just woke up and like, your face skin is like on your gut and you're just like, whoa, I've got 2 faces now. And at number 3, Professor Pig. Just look at him. If that isn't enough for you, let me explain Professor Pig, aka Laszlo Valentine, to you further. First appearing in Batman issue 666, prior to the New 52 continuity revamp, he was a former agent of Spiral who went mad thanks to mind-eroding drugs. After the crime syndicate showed up on Earth 3, Pig ended up using Gotham's hospital as his base after Batman disappeared, and he uses his Dollatron army to go around the city, sedating people, operating on them for experimentation without their consent. Most operations were absurd and severely disfigured his patients. He once switched a tennis player's hand with one of his feet. So if you'd like a good night's rest without having to worry about waking up and having your foot where your hand should be, Laszlo probably shouldn't be on the top of your potential roommate list. Up next, number 2, Killer Croc. For starters, with Killer Croc, you'd be sharing a prison cell that exists within a sewer in Arkham Asylum. The asylum repurposed it in order to hold Waylon Jones. Now he's lived in sewers his whole life, so it makes sense that his cell would also align with that in order to keep him calm. So, hygiene? Not that great. Plus he's got regressive atavism, which results in one's ancestral traits being expressed again, which is why he has scales, sharpened talons and teeth, and enhanced physical abilities that make him look like a giant crocodile, hence gaining the name Killer Croc, but also because he kills. That being said, Jones could be reasoned with potentially. He's cultured and even bilingual, having an admiration for French literature. He also knows what it's like to be downtrodden and hurt, and his sympathy could be appealed to. Either that or you'll get eaten, so 2 very different extremes, but regardless, you'll be in a sewer, and imagine never being able to get the smell of poop out of your clothes or whatever. That's no bueno. And finally, in at number 1, the Joker. You gonna die. Definitely gonna die. The Joker is one Arkham inmate and Gotham criminal that cannot be reasoned with, and even though his cell is likely to be up to sanitation standards, you know he's gonna screw you up big time. He's gonna toy with you slowly until he decides to kill you, or he's just gonna find a creative way to murder you within your first day sharing a room. You definitely couldn't afford to sleep in that cell. That's for damn sure. Because you might not wake up, or worse, you will wake up but you'll be super screwed up, or he might make you laugh to death. Would that be a horrible way to go though? Either way, the Joker has no qualms with torturing others just for shits and giggles. And if you're his roommate, well, you've likely got a terrible fate headed your way. Alright, there we have it, friends. What other villains outside of the DC universe would you hate to be stuck in a prison cell with? Give us a shout in those comments below and let us know your thoughts and feels. If you dug this video, spread that love, hit that like button, and be sure to subscribe to Top 10 Nerd for more lists just like this one. In the meantime though, thanks for watching, friends. I'll catch you all in the next video.